legend of King Arthur has been told many times and in many variations. Historical evidence and text of his existence has been debated for centuries, but since the story told and rewritten in some form or another, artistic freedom and embellishment runs rampant, and today's game, Legion: The Legend of Excalibur, is no exception. Published in 2002 by ex-Mortal Kombat developers Midway, and developed by another ex-Command & Conquer developers Westwood Studios, now, or was of February 2001, 7 Studios. With the Command & Conquer lineage under their belts, 7 Studios carried on with what they know by making Legion a real-time action strategy game with some RPG elements.
Arthur.
The story starts with the death of the current King of England, Uther Pendragon, by the hand of his evil daughter, Morgan Le Fay.
Morgan! Repent your evil arts! Accept a father's love!
She doesn't want her father's love, just his kingdom.
Arthur, my son! Arthur! Sleeping on your watch, little brother?
After waking from this prophetic dream, Arthur is among his fellow squires on the battlefield awaiting Morgan's army. Legion is presented in a fixed camera top-down perspective like classic dungeon crawlers of yore. Arthur will eventually be joined by other Arthurian characters along the way, making this a 4-companion command-based adventure. Arthur is awoken by Kay and advises him to learn how to handle a sword, which teaches you the very basic timing-based combat.
You hold that sword like a girl. Here's a tip.
After a satisfactory performance, Arthur is approached by Merlin.
Go back, Arthur. I am Mage Merlin.
Merlin cannot allow Arthur to wield Excalibur as he is yet unworthy. At this point, I thought obtaining Excalibur was one of the ultimate goals in the game. Many trials would await Arthur and his knights before being able to claim the fabled sword to defeat Morgan. Nope, as soon as Morgan's army attacks, Merlin drops the magical barrier and Arthur has Excalibur for the rest of the game. The game is divided into 13 missions. Well, 12 and one side mission, which is optional, but since it provides a wealth of XP gold and several treasures, skipping it isn't recommended. The land is besieged with Morgan's armies and monsters, terrorising the peasantry, taking over territories and being general fopdoodles. Arthur makes it his kingly duty, with advice from Merlin, to fight this evil army and recruit other members of the Arthurian legend along the way. After a couple of missions of saving the townsfolk and taking down miscreants, Arthur is joined by Guinevere and Percival.
Arthur, help her. She is important to your future.
I hear that you're the new king. Percival's the name.
Mainly a squad-based explore and loot game, you only take control of one character at a time, whilst assigning commands to the others via a command menu system.
Let's go!
Like other RPGs, characters are of a particular class. Arthur is a knight, Guinevere is a ranger, and Merlin, of course, is a mage. All characters retain a single weapon throughout, but can acquire from finding chests or completing objectives other accessories to boost stats. In order to truly have a chance at defeating Morgan, Arthur needs a base of operation, and now being King of England, he has the right to the castle of kings before him, Camelot.
Camelot! Camelot! It's only a model. Shh.
But even the king himself does not simply walk into Camelot. Legion only autosaves upon mission completion, so if you die during, it's back to the start.
I'm done for.
In order to claim Camelot, Arthur is tasked to defeating the 4 ancient lords. This proved to be the hardest mission, as you pretty much have to fight 4 bosses in a row without dying. Keeping an eye on the other teammates and giving them appropriate commands is vital, on paper at least. Something I admitted from the Crime Life Gang Wars review was a simplified team-based command system that was unresponsive half the time, and Legion is not much different. I would have Percival as my healer, assuming he would heal everyone when needed, but sometimes I would need to take control of him and try and heal people manually. Select heal magic, hold down square, target ally, and heal. Heal!
Don't yell at me!
Damn it, this game needs a more effective command system. Otherwise they'll just stand around with their thumbs up their asses saying, do what now?
Do what now?
Oh, will you just heal me, you saddle goose? Despite the sometimes sluggish and unresponsive feel to the combat, it still manages to feel quite satisfying. Taking down a group of enemies with a sweeping or AoE attack is a pleasure, especially when your teammates actually do something right by themselves for once. As you may have gathered by now, Legion takes many liberties with the legend but still tries to hit all the bullet points. Camelot? Check. Round Table? Check. Recognisable knights? Check. Excalibur being given by the Lady of the Lake? Not check. The standard belief seems to be that Excalibur was given by the Lady of the Lake, and the Sword and the Stone are two separate swords, but not here. In the more in-depth story video option, Excalibur is depicted as being the Sword and the Stone for plot convenience, I suppose. In the latter portion of the game, before you face Morgan, we get the first mention of Morgan attempting to acquire the Holy Grail.
To the north lies the Seraphic Mountains and the stronghold belonging to the Sisterhood of the Grail.
So out of nowhere, our knights are tasked with protecting the Grail Sanctuary and the Grail Maidens within. This really did feel like it was shoehorned in at the last minute. It's as if the developers suddenly thought, oh shit, we forgot the Holy Grail. Oh good, at least that means we can stretch the game out for a couple more missions. During the Grail missions, a depiction of the Grail is shown on the loading screen. Now, I'm no expert, but the typical view of the Grail is the cup or holy chalice from which Christ served wine at the Last Supper. Then why has it been decorated with crucifixes? Who made that? Did they know? Is that extra flair necessary, you Roiderbanks? When playing, what made Legion feel a bit unfocused is that it's trying to be two genres at once. On one hand, we have a squad-based dungeon crawler RPG, and on the other a real-time hack and slasher, with neither really going to satisfy both crowds. This does suffer from an imbalance that other RPGs had before it. By the end of the game, you've acquired so much experience and gold that you're practically indestructible, and defeating Morgan turned out to be rather easy.
Master! Why?
Haha, stupid sexy Morgan. I like this game, but it's flawed. If some of the mechanics and combat was tightened up, this would have worked out nicely as a tactical fantasy RPG. It just feels like it's lacking features and depth, keeping it from being genuinely good. If you've ever been intrigued by games like Diablo, but have been intimidated by its complexity, this would work quite nicely as a first rung on that ladder.